The ratings are in for this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS, as well as the ratings for this week's edition of WWE NXT on USA Network, with NXT just slightly edging out AEW Dynamite in terms of the key 18-49 demographic, but Dynamite drawing more total viewers. We've got an injury update on Jamie Hayter after she's been out of action for over 1 year due to injury. Will Ospreay apologizes for a mistake during his promo last night on AEW Dynamite. Chris Jericho challenges Mystico to a match at CMLL's 91st anniversary show. We have the ratings for Monday's edition of Raw on USA Network, and MXM officially signed with AEW. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off with the ratings for last night's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS. And certainly it's interesting stuff when it comes to Tony Khan's promotion. According to WrestleNomics, last night's edition of AEW Dynamite, which featured the finals of the men's and women's Owen Hart Foundation Cup tournament, drew 691,000 viewers on TBS, as well as a 0.23 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. These numbers were also previously reported by PW Torch. Now, in terms of comparison to last week, it's actually a 0% increase when it comes to both total viewership as well as the 18 to 49 demographic. However, when it does come to total viewership, there is a little bit of an increase despite the 0% number. Last week's episode of AEW Dynamite drew 688,000 viewers, whereas this week's number drew just a tiny fraction bit more, 691,000 viewers, so just 3,000 viewers extra. Now, in terms of the episode versus the trailing 4 weeks, it is up 8% from 638,000. In terms of the average of this year versus last year, well, current 2024 Q3 total viewership average 690,000 versus last year's Q3 average 885,000 represents a 22% decline. In terms of a July average of this year versus last year, it's also a decline of 22%. In terms of the 18 to 49 demographic, as I mentioned, there was a 0% increase or decline. Last week's number was a 0.23 rating, the same as this week's. In terms of the episode versus the trailing 4 weeks, it's actually up 10% in terms of the key demo over the last 4 weeks. However, once again, when you're looking at the average year upon year, it's not good numbers for AEW, with the current July 18 to 49 average versus last year's July 2023 18 to 49 average down 23%. In terms of the current 2024 Q3 18 to 49 average versus last year's Q3 average, it is down 26%. So what do you make of the numbers this week? Let me know your thoughts about it, your reaction in the comments section below. Now, speaking of NXT, speaking of ratings, as I mentioned, NXT did just edge out AEW Dynamite in terms of the 18 to 49 demo, but not total viewership. Following WWE NXT Heatwave on Sunday, this week's NXT kicked off a new era as Ethan Page was introduced as the latest champion. Fittingly, the show saw a jump in viewership with 656,000 people tuning in and an 18 to 49 rating of a 0.24. That is a notable increase versus ratings from the July 2nd episode of NXT, especially in that key demographic. Last week's episode brought in just 542,000 viewers and a 0.15 in the 18 to 49 demo, meaning this week's show improved on the overall total viewership by 21% and in terms of the key demographic by a whopping 60%. Now, when it comes to the quarter-hour ratings, these come courtesy of WrestleNomics, so shout out to them and be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service, as you can see the quarter-hour ratings on the screen right there. As for these quarter-hour ratings, the highest overall viewership came at the beginning of the show, with NXT recapping and following up the main event of Heatwave. However, the peak for the 18 to 49 demo came during the show's second and third quarter hours, both of which featured a 0.26 rating. This half hour predominantly featured Lexis King, Tony D'Angelo, Ariana Grace, and Carmen Petrovich. The show also performed well in terms of retaining viewers, as the low point for the total audience was 614,000 viewers with a 0.21 18 to 49 rating. The main event, which featured Paige teaming with Shawn Spears against Trick Williams and TNA wrestling star Joe Hendry, saw a slight boost in the audience but failed to reach the same highs as earlier on in the episode. Now, certainly, once again, when you look at really the key standout thing is there is the overperformance in terms of the 18 to 49 demographic in terms of the weekly, trailing 90-day average. As you can see, pretty much every single quarter-hour rating performing above what we have seen in the 18 18 to 49 demo over the last 90 days. So what do you make of all of this? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, Jamie Hayter, we've heard next to nothing about Jamie Hayter since she was ruled out of action over a year ago. But we've got some details from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select. As I mentioned, Jamie Hayter has been out of action for over a year with little to no updates. In fact, the only couple of updates we've been able to learn since that time was that Hayter worked through an injury to drop the AEW Women's World Championship at AEW Double or Nothing. Shortly after, it was apparent to All Elite Wrestling that Hayter would be unable to wrestle at AEW All In 2023. Then it was clear that Hayter wouldn't be returning for the rest of the year, and later was simply sidelined indefinitely. Now, obviously, there have been a ton of inquiries and requests for updates on Jamie Hayter's status, and for the better part of a year, things were completely silent outside of Hayter coming back. However, Fightful Select has learned that Hayter was at an AEW Dynamite show in recent months when the roster had to show up for physicals. The feeling inside the company that there had been some positive movement towards a potential recovery for Hayter. However, Fightful have not been told where that stands as of right now, as her injury was a very serious one. When Fightful asked within AEW, they did say that her appearance there was the most positive news towards a possible return that they've heard since she's been sidelined altogether, even though numerous talent who were off TV had to show up at those physicals as well. AEW talent that Fightful have spoke to say they haven't heard much of anything about Hayter as of late. Her being backstage is not a regular occurrence these days, and talent say they haven't seen her back since and haven't heard general updates surrounding her. Now, those that Fightful have spoken to said that she's been keeping to herself and focusing on recovering. Hayter had been battling her injuries for well over a month before dropping the AEW Women's Championship at Double or Nothing and had to get cleared ahead of that show in 2023. To sum it up, last year the line of thinking was that there were no timetables, plans, or even general outlines. There was at least discussion on the possibility of her return this year. Perhaps the most promising elements of this was that there have been talent that have had matches pitched to them involving Hayter in the event that she does return. Thus far, that Fightful have spoken to, close to her, and AEW are confident that a return is on the cards. Now, Fightful do say they reached out to Jamie Hayter to confirm this information directly, but didn't hear back. So what are your thoughts when it comes to Jamie Hayter? When, if, do you expect her to come back? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below too. Now, Will Ospreay, he has apologised on social media for his promo last night on AEW Dynamite, which has led to a lot of fans wondering what was the mistake. AEW International Champion Will Ospreay kicked off the July 10 episode of AEW Dynamite with a passionate promo directed at MJF following the salt of the earth's recent actions. After Ospreay's match with Daniel Garcia on the Beach Break edition of Dynamite, MJF brutally attacked Garcia, who had to be stretchered out of the arena. MJF then called out Ospreay for being a talentless hack on the July 6 episode of AEW Collision, prompting the aerial assassin to fire back, but some of his words didn't exactly land the way he would have liked them to. In response, Ospreay took to his X account to post a public apology to AEW fans for not sending out the message that he would have hoped for. He wrote, quote, "Alright guys, realised I made a mistake during my comments last night on Dynamite. I'll do better next time, under a lot of stress personally, and wasn't really focusing on my wording, and results didn't add up. No excuses when the red light is on. Next week, I'll knock it out of the park." Now, while Ospreay didn't confirm what the mistake was, fans have pointed out that his comments about his ADHD condition and Friedman's ADD condition were inaccurate, and some people have suggested maybe it was about a bidding war of 2024 involving MJF, but people are kind of confused as to what this mistake actually was. But regardless of what he said, Ospreay will get the chance to put MJF in his place on the special 250th episode of Dynamite on July 17 when he defends the International Championship against the former AEW World Champion. Ospreay has only lost one singles match in his AEW career thus far, but considering that MJF was the AEW World Champion for over 400 days at one point, this upcoming match will be one of the biggest tests Ospreay has faced since becoming All Elite. Now, Chris Jericho, he will be competing in CMLL when Chris Jericho isn't busy taking folks under the learning tree or driving Samoa Joe through a wall. He's been making inroads back into Mexico, attacking CMLL's top star Mystico just weeks ago. The assault set the stage for a match between the two, but no date was given for the bout at the time. As it turns out, it's because CMLL was waiting for their biggest show of the year. During last night's episode of CMLL Informer, Jericho sent a pre-recorded video, once again clad in a Mystico mask. After insulting the Lucha Libre legend again, Jericho challenged Mystico to a singles match at the CMLL 91st anniversary show. scheduled to take place on September 13 in Arena, Mexico. Mystico wasted no time responding, accepting the challenge. The oldest of all the major wrestling shows worldwide, the CMLL Anniversary Show, commonly referred to as the Anniversaro, was first held on September 21st, 1939, beginning a run that lasted to this day, with only the 52nd Anniversaro not taking place due to an earthquake the previous day. While most anniversary show events are headlined by matches where competitors put their hair or mask on the line, neither Jericho or Mystico broached the subject, suggesting that the bout will be a straight singles match. The match will be Jericho's first match in CMLL since September 1995, when he unsuccessfully challenged Apollo Dantes for the CMLL World Heavyweight title. Though Jericho worked in CMLL from 1993 through 1995 under the name Corazon de Leon, this will be the first time he has ever competed at a CMLL anniversary show. And we spoke about ratings earlier on in the show, and here we have the ratings for Monday's edition of Raw. Last week, Raw posted its fourth highest rating of the year, averaging 1.878 million viewers, which was their largest number since the April 8th edition of the show, the Raw after WrestleMania. However, despite a newsworthy Money in the Bank PLE this past weekend, and the return of Rhea Ripley and CM Punk being on the show, the Red brand took a significant hit in viewership. According to WrestleNomics, Raw averaged 1.750 million viewers and a 0.59 rating in the key 18 to 49 demo. When comparing both categories to the previous week, total viewership fell down by 7%, while also seeing a decrease in the 18 to 49 demo by 5%. However, when it comes to the quarter-hour ratings, these come courtesy of WrestleNomics. Shout out to them and be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service. Raw did start with an strong opening segment between CM Punk and Seth Rollins, pulling in the highest-rated quarter-hour of the show, averaging 1.930 million viewers. Despite the program struggling in the third hour, with viewership decreasing below 1.550 million, many fans seemed to return for the last quarter hour of the show, which garnered over 1.7 million viewers, perhaps due to Ripley's explosive return. Compared to this month last year, Raw has seen an increase of 11% in the 18 to 49 demo, averaging a 0.60 rating. Raw still managed to rank number 1 in the 18 to 49 demo on Monday nights, as a lack of sports competition has definitely aided the program over the last several weeks, with both the NHL and NBA season coming to an end. With that being said, the 2024 Summer Olympics begin Friday, July 26, and could have an impact on WWE's flagship depending on which events are showcased during the evenings. With SummerSlam on the horizon, there's a strong possibility Raw could see another increase in viewership due to the event being WWE's second largest show of the year, as well as Punk and Ripley most likely being featured on their programming week to week ahead of the biggest party of the summer. And finally, MXM are officially All Elite and also with Ring of Honor. Now, former AEW World Tag and Trios champion Max Caster has been known to stir up trouble both inside and outside of AEW, which largely plays into his gimmick as a rapper. According to Fightful Select, AEW/Ring of Honor have signed former WWE stars Mansoor and Mason Madden. But Caster is having none of it. In response to a social media post sharing the report, Caster claimed that neither he nor the AEW locker room wants the one-time Maximum male models around. Quote, "We don't want them." Interestingly, the post caught the attention of Mansoor, who shared a diss track of his own against Caster, even going as far as to sampling the Acclaim's entrance theme. It remains to be seen if the two teams end up clashing in either AEW or Ring of Honor, but it's likely a no-brainer due to the Acclaim's status in the promotion. Whether or not Mansoor recreates his diss track in front of a live audience is also something fans will have to wait and see, but it seems like this could be possibly the run he and Madden have wanted since exiting WWE. But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.